Morning, everybody. Very welcome to our webinar this morning, Planning for Play. I suppose whenever I think about planning for play, there's two strands to it. One is that it's good practice to have your plans in place and the requirement of your minimum standards. However, there's another strand to it that I'd like to highlight today, and that's the good Playwork practice. And the Playwork practice for planning a play program would be the flexibility that you should have within it to enable kids to take things in their own direction and lead their own play, and that will come up later on in more detail of our information session here. So as we continue to work through the restrictions in our place-based childcare, we are faced with the public health guidelines that must be adhered to. While we recognise the need to come out of lockdown slowly with certain measures in place, we also acknowledge the challenges these present for play workers when planning a programme for play schemes. And it has an awful lot of pressure on groups, I think, in regards to, there was a lot of changes, a lot of grey areas. We might have interpreted the guidelines differently. Some people are more frightened of the coronavirus than others. So you also have to manage your staff's anxieties as well. But at the same time, we must remember that at the core of your work and your service is the quality of play for the children. So we're going to sort of revisit that throughout this. The aims of the session today are to support play workers and providers in their endeavour to operate within the constraints of COVID-19 and develop varied and fun-filled play programme, to explore children's play needs and how best to meet them. And you'll have probably extra pressures currently with children are anxious as well as adults. So you don't know if children are going to need some emotional support as well as meeting their play needs. They might need some reassurance to feel safe when they come through your doors. And provide some useful resources and ideas for planning and play under the current circumstances. So we're going to look at what can we still provide, not just what we've had to remove or restrict from the children's use, but what can we still provide them with. And some considerations when planning for the older child. In PlayBoard, we probably get asked that, and that's our most asked question from our groups and our play workers, is how can we get our older kids to engage? They're often feeling they're bored, there's nothing to do. So we'll give that a little mention as well. Some of the preventative measures that you've had to put in place, just to revisit those quickly. A range of approaches will help reduce the risk of transmission, minimising contact with those who are unwell, promoting good hand hygiene, plenty of hand washing, plenty of soap and sanitizers, respiratory hygiene as well, cleaning frequently touched surfaces with appropriate chemicals and cleaning products, and continuing general cleaning with detergent. Also using equipment that can be cleaned or that are still disposed of. We're using a lot of loose parts, a lot of recycled materials and junk materials after each PlayBoard is finished with them. You might then want to just get rid of, clean the things that you need to keep and dispose of the free and found ones. Minimising contact between children, viewers and staff. So a lot of it's common sense by now, I think, as well, since we reopened in July. You can practice some of these things. And just to remind us as well that the Health and Social Care Trust guidelines highlights that the guidance notes do not affect the legal obligations of providers with regards to the health and safety and public health advice. In other words, providers must continue to adhere to the minimum standards while taking regard of the public health advice. So the guidelines aren't replacing the minimum standards. You still have to adhere to them. So you were coming to PlayBoard webinar this morning on programme Planning for Play. However, before we start getting into the more serious stuff, Let's play a little bit. So a few tips are on the screen of what this might endure. Get yourself a pen and paper. For each category, you have 30 seconds to write down as many things as you can think of from that category. But the catch is you only score for the ones I have on my list. And I've got my little list down here earlier. So you only get a point if you get the same one as me. We'll count up all the scores at the end. So our first category. Things you find in the kitchen. Don't think that the ones on screen are the answer, because they may not be. Lots of things in the kitchen. Try to write down 10 things that you might find in the kitchen, and you've got 30 seconds to do it. So go. I'll count this down. 10 things you might find in the kitchen, 10 things that children might play with and often do when they're roaming about drawers and cupboards. Okay, there's 15 seconds gone. Ooh. You've got 5 to go. And 10's down. All right, we're going to do these categories one after the other, and then we'll count up your scores at the end. Alcoholic drinks, we did try to put down just drinks, but it was too hard to find 10. So again, you've got 30 seconds to come up with 10 drinks, and hopefully some of them will be the same as on my list. There you go. Christmas time's approaching. There might be a few in there that you only really partake in at Christmas time. And you're down to 15 to go. Maybe this time of year it's also time for something warm or hot toddy or something. You've 5 to go. And your 30 seconds left. So final one. 10 things that you played when you were about 8. What did you play? Where were you when you were playing? What was your favourite 10 things of playing as a child, as a youngster, when you get home from school or in school on your weekends? Go. You've got 30 seconds. That's it. Fifteen gone. What did you love doing as a child playing? Did you ever get hurt? Who were you with? Did you ever get into sticky situations playing, roaming? 30 seconds are up. Thank you. Okay. You need to be very honest in this game because we can't see your answers. So my 10 kitchen things were wooden spoon, colander, pots, fat catcher, do you know the splat for when you're frying on the pan to catch the fat, a ladle, kitchen roll, kids love kitchen roll and wrapping themselves in it, wrapping everything in it, basin, teapot, whisk or grater. Write down your score. Anybody get 10? 10 out of 10? No. 8 out of 10 even? Okay, write your scores down at the bottom of your page and we'll move quickly on to the next one. Excuse me, my throat's catching. Pina colada, sherry, Guinness, beer, a Bloody Mary, Baileys are nice, or a hot port or port, wine, gin, and mulled wine. Anybody get 10 out of 10 there? Write down your score. And then the last one, what you remembered playing as a child. These are from my own memories, playing memories. 2 balls, skipping, swinging around the lamppost, German jumps, hunt, 2-man hunt, Hopscotch, hide and seek, and one of my old favourites at primary school was wrap the doors and run away, and the final one, kick the can. Anybody get 10 out of 10 there? Okay. Anybody get out of the 30? Anybody get 25, 26? Put your scores in, and Bridge will tell us at the end who got the scores, the highest points. And we'll move on. So play, before we start talking about planning for play, I suppose it's good to revisit the importance of play. And play for children during lockdown has been very, very different as what they would be normally used to. And we also don't know what it was like for children being locked up and locked down. What we do know is that there was a huge decrease in children's physical play and physical activity from the Children's Voice Survey carried out. We also know that some children were lucky enough to have gardens, to have things to places to get outside the house and play. But some children were locked up in that they might have lived in apartments, they might live in terrace housing, so there was no green spaces or places for them to get out, even for fresh air. So the IPA, the International Play Organisation, they said in regards to children coming out of lockdown, playing helps children stay physically and mentally well. It's an everyday part of healthy and happy childhood. Playing is just as important during crisis like the current coronavirus pandemic. It helps your child manage their emotions and maintain a sense of everything, that everything can and will be okay. So it's that reassurance again. Play helps kids to work through stuff. If they're being anxious, if they're frightened, you'll see it being reenacted in their play. Playing is a natural and active process that can help us stay emotionally healthy, be physically active, get some exercise, relax and forget about our worries, and make sense of new experiences and changes in their world. And some little ones probably didn't know the half of what was going on. But what they do and were aware of was that adults were becoming anxious, that they weren't allowed to go to shops, they weren't allowed to go to school. So this would have impacted kids' health and well-being, particularly their mental health, in many different ways. And it helps them to cope with feelings that are difficult and frightening, like being separated from their teachers, separated from their grannies and grandies, and separated from their peer groups. The principles that underpin Playwork and that we all work from are the 8 Playwork principles. And these principles establish the professional and ethical framework for Playwork, and as such must be regarded to as a whole. They describe what is unique about play and Playwork and provide that framework for us to work from for children and young people. And I suppose for me there's a key element that comes out of it in that play should be child-led. Freely chosen, children choose what they do. Personally directed, children choose how they do it. And it should be intrinsically motivated, children choose why they do it. And these were all little phrases taken from the 8 Playwork principles, and there was Playworkers we should aim to work from. In a nutshell, play is to engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. Kids just play for the pure fun of it. And one of my colleagues, Peter, which is probably a lot of you know, has his own little nutshell way of explaining it. Focus on the play and the development will take care of itself. And he's right. So planning for play. To ensure balance and breadth of play provision resides. Sorry, I just need to move these. Yeah. To ensure balance and breadth of play provision resides, play workers need to have clear understanding of their role in meeting the required guidelines, while at the same time providing quality play opportunities. So we are all aware from you have reopened that there was extra pressures on you to get opened and you had to put measures in place to mitigate the infection of the virus. However, at the same time, we must be mindful the children have been locked up, they've been out of school, and they're coming to you looking and in search of some good quality play. So protecting that is as important as putting your restrictions in place. The primary focus should be to support and facilitate the play process by enabling children to determine, control, and intent of their play within their play pods. So yes, they might have to go into pods and be segregated if you have a few different playgrounds, but at the same time, they should be able to play and interact within that pod in a meaningful way. Working with children to create a playful ethos to the setting, a play culture that is responsive to the needs of children. And they're going to come through your doors at the minute with all sorts of different needs and play requirements. The design of your space as well and the physical environment is equally as important. And your plans should reflect that there's a range of different play offers. You'll have your home corner, you'll have your maybe some floor play, chill out zone in the playroom, and then that should be extended to the outdoor space as well. I talked earlier about helping the older child to engage, and they do come through the doors to us with all sorts of things, such as they know their own mind a bit more by now. And children are they tend to seem to be maturing at an earlier age, I think, growing up faster. Before that, they want to please. They can get really interested in a particular thing. They begin to move into single-sex groups and sometimes gangs, and this can sometimes lead to exclusion and conflict among the other children. And they're becoming independent and pushing boundaries. Some of them will try to backcheck you, or they know that the rules that you have agreed with them. They're always trying to push them, and I suppose that's a normal part of childhood as well. Power struggles and competitive. Some kids are very competitive. Beginning puberty, especially the girls. And they get attitude. They have that attitude and the hands go up when they're talking to you. The body language says it all. And they also get bored. I suppose boredom would be one of the biggest ones that I would have been used to whenever I ran the after schools club. So what can you do to try and deal with all these things that are going on with your older age group, and at the same time ensure that you have something on offer that they like, that they'll engage with, and they'll have fun while they're there at their club. Oh, there's more coming. Participation. Participation isn't just something that's good practice, but like the right to play, and participation is Article 12 in the United Nations Rights of the Child, and it is actually a child's right to express their views and have them taken seriously. And the same goes for whenever we're running a play project or planning for play. We need to take their views into consideration in a meaningful way. How are the children involved with your program plan? How do kids feed into your plans at your setting currently? If you want to fire something into the chat there, great, could you let me know if anything comes in? What's your methods for getting and recording children's input? Do you have an ideas tray, a graffiti board, a suggestion box? There's lots of ways of getting children to feed into the plans. Does your after school have a children's committee? It's also very good practice and good participation work. So the kids meet informally and record their own minutes and then feed that back to the leader or the Playwork staff team. Do you gather evidence of how children are involved in a meaningful way? If I was to come into your setting for the first time and chat to you about how your service operates and how the children inform the programme plan, could you show me evidence? Do you gather evidence or keep records? Again, it's good practice. Have you ever considered creating a participation folder? Any of my Western groups, if any of you are there from the quality programme, this was something that we worked on before lockdown and during lockdown, was creating participation folders for their after schools clubs. And basically what it is, it's a folder that you give the children ownership of. And within that folder, they can record all sorts of things that are meaningful to them. Some more serious than others, but particularly you want, what do they like doing? What's their ideas for play activities and for resources for their club? And you want them really to have an ownership and a say in the running of their club so that they engage with you at a higher level. As well as ideas, a participation folder is good for capturing children's evaluating of their play experiences, where every so often you might get them to stick post-its in or give them a short survey, maybe once a term, asking them how's the club going, how their play experiences are, what they feel about the club, etc., etc. And then keep a record of that for your own future planning. Children need to know that their participation is real. So there's no point in gathering evidence or having ideas, trails, or indeed a participation folder if then the children's input isn't reflected in your practice and in the setting. So if they ask for something minor and you can manage it, go ahead and provide it. If it's unrealistic and they want the ice rink or something that you can provide, then tell them, explain to them. Planning your program plan. We recommend using a program planning checklist, especially at the minute because of the guidelines that you're also working from, as well as your minimum standards, and that there's not any misinterpretation between team and staff members, but you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. It'll help develop knowledge of what changes need to be put in place, what resources can remain on offer, and that's, for me, that's the big one, rather than just disregard and remove resources and materials. Can you be creative in coming up with ways of keeping things on offer? Actively involve the children, mentioned that for participation, and ensure all staff involved have clear understanding of their roles and responsibilities for the health and safety of the children and themselves, but at the same time be aware of what the kids are still allowed to do. So all staff singing off the same hymn sheet. Help consider all aspects of the service that are currently affected by the restrictions. So a weekly planner, I'm all about the quality of the play and the effort and the energy going into the play and after schools clubs. So I'm not a big fan of laborious paperwork if it's unnecessary. So this plan that I used, whenever I ran an after schools club and I shared with my groups and practitioners, is one where you put as much on your template as you can. So things that the children have access to every day, like your role play, your arts and crafts, the books, the dolls, all the things that you have in your room and all your little play areas, put them across the top of your planner. I had to separate it like this so that you'd be able to read it. It was too big to put on the one slide, but this actually runs across the top of my program plan. Project to add as comprehensive a list as possible to show what a wide range of activities remain available daily. And you might want to put things on that you've come up with even from reopening that you mightn't have thought of before, but you've been forced to add new things for mitigation purposes. And then this is the template, the actual weekly template. And this is what I call the add-ons. These aren't things that children might have access to every day, when they come to you, but they're the ones that you go, right, on Monday we'll do a special activity, Tuesday something different on offer, right up through the Friday. It also gives consideration to the activity, the resources needed for that activity, and the outdoor activities and the resources needed for the outdoor activities. For example, we'll do Monday, sculpture modelling, resources needed, art, clay, water, plastic containers. Outdoor activities, scavenger hunt, Pictionary, making a picture with what the kids find. So you send them off with their little plastic tray to catch things and find things in the environment. And then they come back and you have a big roll of wallpaper, a big sheet of card, and they create pictures and make shapes with them. At the bottom, you'll see evaluation, and this is for the staff. So rather than have a separate evaluation form, and we're talking about that, keeping things concise, easy to manage and easy to do, that's to capture how that activity went, how the play session went, not just the sculpture and the modelling or the scavenger hunt, but how your play session went on Monday. So quick comments from staff, bullet points or post-its, whatever works for you, and stick it up there. And it means that on a Friday, you can at a glance see how your play went that week. It's another good idea to have a similar evaluation sheet or graffiti board up on the wall for your children so that the kids can give you feedback of how their week went or their daily play session went. That's good practice. Then whenever you come to planning, your plan and templates become nearly your manual for work. You mightn't have to reinvent the wheel week on week, because what you'll do is you'll draw on the things that worked well, the things that your older children are really engaging with well, and you'll provide more of that more often. So the adults have a major role here as well. I suppose we can, as play workers, can either impede or enhance children's play experiences. Play workers should create an environment with a variety of possibilities for play. Resist temptation to initiate activities and mediate in disputes. A lot of our kids look to the adults now to sort everything out for them, even to get them into a game. They might come and say to us, she won't let me play, he won't let me play, or I had that first, or I want to go with that. We want to encourage them to be more independent and to sort things out for themselves, especially minor disputes. Observe children's use of the space, materials and resources to inform future planning. What's working well, what's not working, and what could we remove? We seem to need some more space for physical play, or there's not enough room in here for physical play. Is it possible to take some of the tables out? So you're always watching to see how the kids are working their space, so to speak, and what they're making the best use of, and then adapting your environment to suit that. Ensure children manage resources and equipment. We want them to be independent and we want them to have access to things independently. So we're giving them as much ownership of their play as we can, and we, the adults, are there sort of facilitating and supporting. That's not to say that we can't play with the kids when invited, if they throw you a ball or ask you to organise a game of rounders or something like that. That's an invitation, so then you get involved and hands-on with them too. It's that mix of know when to intervene and when to let them just get on with it themselves. An adapt a risk-benefit approach for play provision. And this is something that PlayBoard have been sharing with all our groups and all the after-school clubs that we would be involved in. That instead of the old approach of a scoring system and eliminating things, we now look at it from, yes, the potential harm or hazard still remains, as it does when kids are playing. However, we now measure that across with the benefits of why we let kids do certain things. For example, a game of football. We're all happy enough for kids to play football. However, if you were to do a risk assessment on football, it's quite a dangerous game, an activity in that it's fast, it's competitive, and it can be rough. And depending on the size of the boys and their competitiveness and everything else, it can be potentially a dangerous sport, and that it's a contact sport as well. However, if we were then to list down the benefits of a game of football with kids, the benefits far outweigh the risk. And that's what the risk benefit approach is. I can give you more information on that. If you want anything, email me and I can send you lots of info on that. So, what can we do to protect play? I suppose as a play organisation, one of our fears for children at the minute is that restrictions and new rules and guidelines can impede on their quality of play and their play experiences. So what can you do, or what have you maybe already been doing in your setting to protect children's play within the regulations? Here's a few things for consideration. Water play. Do you still let the kids have water play? Because you can, and you wouldn't be breaking the guidelines. Some groups have just added bubble solution or soap to their water tray, but the children are still allowed to play with it. Sensory play, their sand and their Play-Doh. You might want to give them individual cartons or tubs or trays, and again, still let them have access to it. Messy play, slime, mud, lotions and potions. Again, let them take that outside, and as soon as they're finished with it, it can be disposed of. Outdoor play, as I mentioned before, outdoor play is probably more important now than it's ever been, because some children weren't even getting appropriate or adequate fresh air during lockdown. So make outdoor play a big part of your plan for play, and get them outside as much as possible. Use the seasons and the weather as resources for play. So nicer season in autumn for kids play, the colours, things falling from the trees, beautiful. Then you've got winter, and the same goes for winter. It might be cold, but you've got ice, and you can use these things, ice and snow and the wind, as resources for play as well, not barriers. And loose parts. Loads and loads of loose parts, because they're open-ended, they're free, and they're cost-effective, and you can dispose of them when one pod's finished with them. And then something you might want to, zones. Yeah, if you think of your indoor space and playroom, how you have it set up in like little different play areas, you might want to consider doing the same with your outdoor space and create similar zones outdoors that exist indoors. If you have more than one play pod within your setting and you've had to allocate them a zone outside, please try to ensure that each zone still has a variety of resources, or each pod has a variety of resources within their zone, and if they're not stuck with physical play or creative play, that there's a variety provided for each of your play pods. And then something you might want to avoid is soft furnishings, because they're not easily cleaned and maintained, and it could be it could be harder work for you, or maybe also higher risk. So wipeable, cushion, floor cushions, wipeable seating probably would be your best safer bet at the minute. And your physical environment. When you're planning for play, as well as whatever activities and resources you're planning for, remember as well to consider and observe the children's use of the environment. I mentioned loose parts there. Loose parts create richer environments for children to play in, giving them the resources they need to do what they need to do. So they're so open-ended and they suit all age groups. The kids can play with them in numerous ways. They can be used both indoors and outdoors. Static, unchanging play spaces do little for children, whereas environments which can be manipulated, where things can be moved, open worlds of possibility. You want the kids to be able to change their space. If they're down on the floor and doing some floor play or some physical play, it's okay if they push things back and make the space for themselves. You need to consider storage systems that enable independent access for children. Unlike the early years curriculum and the early years sort of structure, I suppose, of playrooms, after schools clubs should not be as structured, and they should be set up in a way that kids come in, throw their coat and their school bag in the club room, and come into you, sit down to relax and consider what it is they want to do. Or they might have a preferred play type that they know before they get to you where they want to go once they come through your doors. But they shouldn't be coming into classroom type setups with tabletop activities and things all set up for them. That's taken away their independence, and you're not encouraging them to make those choices that we want them to make. Your resources should be, ideally should be stored in a way that kids can go and access things themselves. And then you can have that chat with them, and there can be boundaries within your setting that they take out, put away, and then they take out if they want to take something else, so that it's not chaos. So there's a little bit of structure required in your planning, but accessibility to kids and independence is vital for a good play project. And when the programme planning, consider both the indoor and outdoor environments. I've already mentioned the importance of planning for outdoor play as well. It warrants the same commitment as the indoors. Some physical activities, and the evidence indicates that the transmission of the coronavirus is much less outdoors. So think about games, sports and activities that children do individually in pairs or in their play pods. And that's just a list of, tennis, junior golf, running, jumping, skipping, bowling, and getting the kids to come up with games as well is a really good idea. Have a simple supply of equipment and things to play with that can be easily cleaned after use or disposed. Or if you allocate children one play pod, a set of resources and materials for play Monday through to Friday, and you leave it over the weekend as well, then you could switch your resources around your different play pods so that you're giving them plenty of choice and variety. Where possible, provide children with their own resources to revisit if they wish. Basins, plastic trays, cotton bags of foodies. And that would be especially useful for the likes of the sensory stuff that we mentioned earlier. So here's a few photographs of loose pods. And as you can see, they're really open-ended. And they're free and found, as we say in PlayBoard. And quite often as well, they're as useful indoors as they are outdoors. All age groups. There's a motor car up at the top or some sort of a vehicle those children have made. And there's ideas that you still can do within the restrictions, for indoors, imaginary role play, tabletop activities. A lot of what you did before you can continue to do. You might have to be creative in coming up with ways to do it, but they can be preserved and protected. And then outdoors, the same, chalk, Pictionary, scavenger hunt through water play. Trying to still ensure that the kids are getting as wide a choice as viably possible. And as well as the resources you provide within the physical environment. Does your outdoor space look like a child-friendly space for play? We don't have to have purpose-built equipment and fixings like that, but just that it looks like a place that's inviting and welcoming for kids to run out to. Colourful, bunting, children's art, tree hanging, fence weaving, all those things help make a place more inviting for kids to play. And I thought I'd share a few pictures with you of our pop-up sessions that we used to do. Fill the van up with loose parts, little or no cost, and just turn up and kids empty the van, and we could create a pop-up play space with little or no cost. Then building, and painting it then, making a little mark on it. And then some other useful ideas for pop-up play sessions as well. If you don't have a space that where you can leave stuff out outside and you have to bring in, or you share an outdoor space, you might want to do pop-up stuff. And tires are brilliant and there's parts for that. That's our pop-up mud kitchen in the bottom corner on a play day for it rained the whole day as it does every play day. But fabulous way of giving kids some sensory experience in a public space. Making a music station out of pots and pans. And if there's any natural space that you have access to, it lends itself a wealth of possibilities for play naturally. So do utilise it. And if you're not that lucky, bring some natural space into your tarmac area by using tires or big wooden trays or crates. So just some ideas, some food for thought. I suppose to finish off today, the key points, and then we'll look at the results from our game earlier on. But the key points, the guidelines have been changing rapidly. As practitioners, you should be visiting the website regularly for updates and just keeping yourself up to speed with everything that's happening. Working from the minimum standards remains a legal requirement. When children have returned to your settings, they need to be able to reap the therapeutic benefits that play brings and rebuild their connections with others and with the physical environment and with their peers and with the staff as well, the play workers. Some children may have experienced difficult situations at home and may require further support to deal with social and emotional issues. So you want it to be a place of reassurance, of security, a safe place for them. It is widely recognised that the risk of infection is reduced outdoors. So if there is an outdoor area available, it should be utilised as much as possible. And I think I've highlighted the importance and the benefits of outdoor play for this throughout the presentation. With the constraints you're working from, with the constraints, all that information that you're gathering, that you start out, collating or getting the children to collate it, it's really good practice now. And more of the inspectors that are coming into inspect your after schools are looking for children's input. And if you have a folder already sitting, it would be really easy for you to go and say to the kids, bring over your participation folder or go and get your folder. And at a glance, your link social worker will be able to see how your children, it's not just a one-off thing, but how it's part of your service, it's part of how you run things. Just some food for thought. Anything else before we hire up?
No more comments this side, Shani.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope you all have a lovely Christmas and have lovely festivity things happening in your after school clubs on the run up to Christmas. And I would hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.